Assalamu alaikum. This is Abby, and this is my second blog, but today, instead of a rant, I'm going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of being a Muslim in the U.S., and more specifically being a revert Muslim in the United States. I'm doing this special video because a friend asked me this question and wanted to see what my answers would be. So I thought I would go ahead and make it a blog, and I hope that you can benefit from it, inshallah. I'm going to be reading from what I wrote because it helps me stay on track, and I don't want my videos to get too off topic. So in general, there's advantages and disadvantages of being a Muslim and living in the U.S. In addition, being a revert Muslim has a few separate advantages and disadvantages of their own. The ones I'm going to share with you are not necessarily a generalized list, but more from my own personal experience and observations. I'm going to start off with 3 advantages. Number 1, as a revert, an advantage I've experienced is less pressure from the community. It seems to me that the pressure put on a revert in a Muslim country would be more intense and more demanding. One example is that in some more conservative Muslim countries, it's more expected or demanded for women to dress modestly and cover their hair. For Muslim women, this is mandatory. However, as a new revert, sometimes it takes a little bit of thinking and self-reflection, and when you choose to wear hijab, it has to be from your heart, and you have to wear it for the right reasons. Not because your husband or someone tells you, someone in the Muslim community tells you, but you need to wear it for the sake of Allah, and because it takes reverts a while to figure out when the right time for them to wear hijab is. And even though it's not a choice, it is mandatory, as I said earlier. Again, sometimes reverts feel like they're not ready to, and it takes some adjusting to. So being in a Muslim country, for example, especially a conservative Muslim country, you're going to have a lot of pressure put on you from the Muslim communities to wear hijab and to dress modestly. Also, a lot of places there, they expect you to be wearing hijab and to cover your hair. Obviously, such as in masjids and maybe some families' homes or maybe a cafe. But there's a lot of pressure, I feel like, over there. And here, it's more relaxed, and people aren't pushing you as much because it's not really expected here for, as far as other Americans, they don't look at you and expect that you're going to wear hijab because you're Muslim. And so that's one advantage I see of being in the U.S. and being a revert Muslim. Another advantage of being a revert Muslim in the U.S. is to have more opportunities for interfaith groups. Interfaith groups, such as in America, are generally more open-minded, mixed, and common than in a Muslim country. And the objectives of most interfaith groups are to discuss and to educate each other on different people's religions and religious practices, and not to argue, but to have equality and kindness. They may help a Muslim revert feel stronger as a Muslim, because when you're explaining your religion and why you chose that religion and why you have decided to be a Muslim, when you're explaining that to other people of different religions, in my case, and maybe in other cases, it helps the revert to kind of, build that concrete confidence within themselves and feel like a stronger Muslim when they can talk about their religion and talk about why they've reverted to Islam. And the third advantage, and again, these are just a few, is accessibility to other American reverts. By having a larger access to other American reverts, it helps for a revert to feel more comfortable and open because they're interacting with other reverts who understand the American culture, and they understand what it's like being a Muslim in the U.S. And this might help them because the other reverts can give them experience and advice that they can really apply to themselves because they're kind of in the same boat. And, you know, it just makes it feel more comfortable interacting with someone from their own culture and how Islam is practiced in the U.S. and generally other American reverts obviously speak better English, and so they're able to communicate more effectively than maybe if they were a revert in a Muslim country where, you know, people had communication barriers or things weren't being communicated in a way that the American revert could understand. So disadvantages are, one disadvantage of being a revert Muslim in the U.S. is the access to Western culture, views, and practices. In Muslim countries, things like inappropriate websites, access to music, bars, mixing of men and women, casinos, things like this are very limited in Muslim countries. Well, I would say more conservative Muslim countries. And these things are limited and well regulated, or they don't exist at all. And being in that type of environment would be more beneficial for a revert or any Muslim in general in many ways. And one of the ways is that it helps the Muslim avoid what is not good for them or what is forbidden. And it takes away temptations and helps the Muslim to focus on Islam and not many of the Western type leisure activities and environments that can make a Muslim struggle in their practice of Islam. So that's been one thing that I've noticed and observed is that, you know, being a new Muslim for me, a revert for me is honestly I'd like to have the luxury of living in a conservative Muslim country because there's less temptation for things, there's less forbidden things I can be tempted by, like bars or casinos or clubs. And here, it's just the access is rampant. I mean, you can everywhere you see billboards advertising alcohol and women, and you know there's strip clubs and casinos and all sorts of things that distract you. All these things and forbidden things in the dunya, they distract you from what your purpose is, and that goes for all Muslims, but it's especially hard for reverts. A lot of us did those things before we reverted to Islam, so we're even more tempted by it, I think, sometimes because we miss it, or we used to do it and we're trying not to do it anymore, and that's definitely a disadvantage. And a third disadvantage we face here in the U.S. as a Muslim is how Americans view us. The media has shed so many lies and negative views on Muslims in general, and in certain parts of the U.S. more than others, like southern conservative states, like Texas, for example, Muslims are looked down on, judged, or prejudiced against because of our religion, or in a woman's case, our hijab. In my experience, it's been harder to get a job as a Muslim because, you know, I send out resumes and they have all this email contact with me, phone interviews, and they talk like they're pretty much going to hire me, but when I show up for an interview, they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll call you. And, you know, I'm not saying that's true everywhere. It's not, but definitely here in Texas, as a Christian conservative state, that wearing the hijab does make it harder, and it is a hindrance as far as getting jobs. It's even sometimes harder to make friends, non-Muslim friends, and I've lost a lot of my own friends when I reverted to Islam because of the simple fact that they didn't want to go out with me wearing this headscarf. And so, you know, it's, you know, and sometimes I even have strangers come up to me and they're like, hey, go back to your own country. And I'm like, what? I was born and raised here. Like, I'm American. What do you mean go back to my own country? Or they'll say, like, why do you wear that scarf on your head? Does your husband make you do it? Does a man make you do it? Oh, God, you're so oppressed, you know? And, you know, I would think you would never experience these kind of judgments in a Muslim country because there it's more accepted. It's obviously accepted, and it's expected, you know. It's not something out of the norm. And so, you know, those are just a few lists of disadvantages and advantages of being a Muslim, specifically a Muslim revert in America. Alright, and I hope you can benefit from this, inshallah, and I hope to have my next video up soon. Oh, I got this hijab from Austere Attire. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. They have a special package going on right now for new reverts. They're sending 2 hijabs with some pins to promote and encourage women wearing hijab. So this is one of them, and this is the other one, and they're awesome, and they smell good. So you can visit them at austereattire.com, AUSTERE attire.com, and you can check them out on Facebook. Alright, Assalamu alaikum.